Awesome. So welcome everyone. This is our open house for the ECE department. My name is Afia Habib, and I'll allow my fellow panelists to introduce themselves. So we can start with Max.
Hi, I'm Max. I'm a junior in CPE. I'm involved in a variety of extracurricular things, like I do undergraduate research. So that's me.
Hello, I'm Kristen. I'm a junior in computer engineering with a focus in controls, robotics, and autonomy. And yeah, I'm an ECE ambassador. I'm a publicity co-chair on ECE ambassadors.
Hey guys, I'm David Stanley. I'm a senior in CPE, graduate in May. Pretty excited. Outside of ECE ambassadors, I'm also the industry relations chair for our student IEEE branch, which is a really fun activity.
Yes, and I'm Afia Habib. I'm president of ECE ambassadors. I've been around since under my junior year, and I'm also a part of IEEE, which is a great organization to be a part of here in ECE. And before we kick things off with a Q&A, I'd love to share a video with you guys to give you a little overview of the ECE department. One of our fellow ambassadors recorded a video for us. So we'll share my screen.
I'm here to talk to you about electrical and computer engineering. So for electrical engineering, you really learn about hardware and electronics and the design of both of those aspects. While for computer engineering, you learn about hardware like you would for electrical, but you also learn about software. So computer engineering is really a mix between computer science, which is purely software, and electrical, which would be purely hardware. And, it's really just a blend between those two majors for computer engineering. Now, both of these majors offer many concentrations here at Virginia Tech, so you can specialize in your undergraduate while you go to school here. So some options for concentrations for electrical engineering would be like power systems, communications, and radio frequencies, and then many more outside of that, of course. And for computer engineering, they offer concentrations such as software systems, cybersecurity, and machine learning. And of course, there are more outside of that as well. Now, if you don't want to concentrate while you're in your undergraduate degree, you can also take the general computer engineering or general electrical engineering path, in which you would just end with a computer engineering degree with no concentration or electrical engineering degree with no concentration. So these majors are very opportunistic. There are so many opportunities postgraduate for both of these majors. So in these majors, you can either go into the military if you want. You could be commissioned to be an officer because our majors are very in demand for that field, for the military field. Or you can go into industry or work for the government. So you could do things like work on automotive cars and, work on those systems that both computer and electrical engineering would both be needed for the hardware components of cars, but also for the software that would go with cars as they become more advanced now. You can work in defense, you can work in gaming, or you can work in the medical field and work on, medical components for both majors. Or you can go into manufacturing. Along with that, if you decide, you could also go into graduate school. And in graduate school, you can get your master's or Ph.D. in electrical or computer engineering. Or you could go into graduate school and you could get your MBA. Or you can continue on to get professional law or medicine degrees. So there are many opportunities outside of electrical and computer engineering postgraduate school. So thank you, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the Q&A below, and we'll try to get to them.
Okay, great. We have our first question, and it is, would you recommend the living and learning community? And if you did it, why not? So Max, I think you were in Galopecia, right? Do you mind answering that for us?
Yes. So I was involved in Galileo for 2 years. So like the engineering living learning community is divided as like into Galileo and Hypatia based off male and female. I think that's the only distinction. They effectively do all the same things. So I was involved in it as a freshman. I was placed in a group a group where I was joined with 5 or 6 other of my fellow freshmen, and we had a mentor who would just meet with us for the first 10 weeks of the semester, offering any advice we'd have, offer any advice for any of our questions. What was really cool about Galileo was having a design space actually in the dorm. So I remember the freshman engineering class, the second semester, we had to actually build a project, and we had a laser cutter in our dorm that we could just access versus some of the more limited lab space. A lot of people had to really struggle, like fit their schedule into like go when that lab was open. But here we just had access to like a laser cutter, a few power tools, some 3D printers right in our dorm, which was awesome. Another thing I really enjoyed about it was having a lot of people in my same classes all in the hallway. So if I needed help on chemistry, I could go to pretty much anybody in like next door. Hey, I need help with this. Could you help me? And a lot of people were willing to do that. So that was a really great community to have. And then I did it again as a sophomore. So after my freshman year, you can come back as a sophomore to be a mentor and also to help volunteer and run one of the aspects of the community. So I was a laser cutter trainer. So I taught students how to use the laser cutter in our in-house design studio. So I was able to kind of convert the experience from really receiving a lot from my freshman year to giving back as a mentor and as a trainer my sophomore year. So that'd be my overview of Galileo, and I would definitely recommend it.
Our next question is from Justin. We got a lot of popularity here. What is the difference between computer science and computer engineering? So Kristen and David, you guys are both CPEs. Do you guys want to take it?
Yeah, I'll do it since I'm basically just a CS major at this point. So the overall difference is that computer engineering exists kind of in the intersection of hardware and software. And at Tech, obviously, with all the electives that you're going to take, you can kind of make that whatever you want. So computer science being just pure, like, the furthest abstracted from the hardware you can get, something like Python, for example, for those of you who are familiar, would be like the quintessential CS, kind of language, versus something like C would be a computer engineering language, which is a little closer, that it interacts a little more with the hardware. Now, there's tons of options in CPE, so you can do anything as hardware intensive as chip scale integration, which is like kind of designing the physical layout of a chip, like a computer chip, to machine learning, which is essentially just applied statistics using a coding language of your choice, which is what my major's in. So there's a ton of different options. Either one's a great major. Kristen, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, no, I think you answered it pretty well. The curriculum is really flexible in the way that you can, even though you're a computer engineering major, you can go way software or way hardware heavy. So it all depends on your interest. But what I would say, I am biased because I am computer engineering. But I really like how the computer engineering department allows you to get experience on both edges of the sword, no matter what specific focus area you choose, because the way that the ECE curriculum is laid out, freshmen and sophomores have the same curriculum, whether you're in electrical engineering or computer engineering. So you're still going to get like that circuit experience. You're going to be able to directly apply like the things that you learned in like circuits and stuff to the different software that you're using. So it makes you way more reputable as an employer.
Awesome. Thank you both. And our next question is from Joseph. Can you talk about the most common jobs or industries that electrical engineers get when they graduate? And I could take this question. So I'm an electrical engineering student. I'm general electrical engineering, so I don't quite have a focus. And one of the reasons I did that is because I wasn't quite sure what I want to do. Electrical engineering is so broad, and you can really go into any industry. And to answer your question about what's the most popular job, it's definitely in the defense sector. So Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, they heavily recruit hardware engineers, and that'll probably be electrical, mechanical, really that's where it's at. But the beauty of electrical engineering is that's not what you have to do just because it's popular. You can really be flexible. So for example, David mentioned that he's basically a CS major now. I'm actually going into the CS field after graduation, which is crazy. I would not have imagined going that path post-grad as an electrical engineer. But again, it's so flexible. You can do whatever you want with it. And being in college, you really don't know what you're going to do until you do it. that's the beauty. Again, I love just the spontaneity of it, and I wouldn't think that you're going to be in that particular job just because it's popular. So I hope that answers your question. And the next question we have is from Zach. What types of projects do electrical engineers typically participate in? And there's a big span of projects electrical engineers can participate in. For senior design, we have about more than 10 projects for electrical engineers, and the most popular one, or the coolest one that I like, is the Heartbeat project. And what we're building is, or not what I'm building, unfortunately it's not my team. My team's actually doing a laser integrated system, also a really cool project. And I can talk about that in a second. The Heartbeat project is literally building a circuit where you can put on these cathodes on your wrists and detect a heartbeat. And actually, there's outside use for these systems that electrical engineering students are building. Hospitals are actually using the technology that our senior design teams build. So it's really great seeing this real life application. And besides like healthcare applications, electrical engineers can also work on projects helping with environmental protections. So the project I'm working on is actually developing a laser spectrometer system, and it's really an integration project where we're detecting chlorophyll in natural waters. And so chlorophyll is kind of an indicator of pollution, and I really am enjoying this project because I would have never imagined having to like integrate a system in a circuit using code, and it's really interdisciplinary is what I'm trying to say with these projects. You can do a lot of cool stuff. And we have another question. Is it possible to do a CS major with a computer engineering minor? It's a great question. Does anyone want to take this one?
Yeah, so there's no computer engineering minor specifically. The only minor that's within the ECE department is cybersecurity. But you can do a computer engineering major with a CS minor. So computer science does have its own minor, but you can't flip.
Yeah, the CS minor is really popular with CPE students. It's only like 2, 3, I don't know how many ever extra classes, because the CPE classes will double count for some of the CS classes if you want to do that.
A question I want to share with everyone is what brought you guys into ECE? So we can all answer this question one by one, starting with Max.
All right, so the whole reason I came to tech and the reason why I eventually settled on CPE is I knew I wanted to do robotics. As specific as that might sound, that's still kind of nebulous and I'm still figuring it out. Eventually I figured I want to do humanoid robotics, which relates to my research I'm doing right now. Anyway, I came in thinking I wanted to do mechanical engineering because I really enjoyed physics mechanics in high school, and I hated electricity and magnetism with a passion in high school. And I did a lot of things working with my hands in a hobbyist shop, making small little cars or little air cannons that launch a ping pong ball as part of like a high school design competition. So I really thought I was going mechanical. Talking to some upperclassmen in EE and CPE, reviewing more what kind of projects MEs or like jobs MEs and CPEs take, I realized eventually, okay, I really want to actually go more into electrical engineering is what I thought. So I started doing that, and then I ran to my sophomore year. So I'm in the ECE department doing electrical engineering. Now, keeping in mind that the sophomore curriculum is the same for CPE and EE, I still have this flexibility to decide. And taking some of my courses sophomore year, I realized, wow, okay, the ones that are really focusing on EE concepts, not really sure that's what I want to specialize in. Some of the stuff I'm learning about, like the fundamentals of digital systems, how a computer processor works, that's really cool. That's what I want to go study. So now my junior year, I'm really diving into more of the CPE topics, and that's what I'm discovering. And applying a lot of that to my research on humanoid robotics. So it all kind of came full circle. So
that's awesome. How about Kristen?
Yeah, so I did a little bit of coding in high school, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. I was fine with it. Like, I enjoyed it, but I was like, I don't want to sit behind a computer all day and code. So I originally came into college, I was like, oh, I'll do computer engineering. It's not computer science, so it's a little more hardware focused. And then for a while, I thought I wanted to do electrical engineering just because I really like the hardware stuff. But after my internship, after my freshman year, I worked at Micron, which is a semiconductor company. and I was working on a specifically computer engineering project where we were making a graphical user interface. And that's where I was like, yeah, CPU is it. Like, it's so nice to be able to have like the opportunity to do specifically like really hardware oriented stuff. Like, I'm in controls, robotics, and autonomy. So that's like specifically more the hardware part of computer engineering, but I still get to do coding and I still get to like be really hands-on, which I really enjoyed.
Awesome. Thank you, Kristen. And David?
All right, yeah. So mine's a little less like, I don't know. Max and Kristen have like really good reasons for getting into it. I liked tech. Obviously, I like really wanted to come here in high school. And my uncle went to tech back in the early 2000s, and he was an EE. So I was like, oh, I kind of like math, you know. Figured I'd be good at engineering, so I picked what he did. So I started off as a double E major, and I took my first circuits class, and I hated it. It was not for me. And so I liked coding, and I figured that I would stick with it, and I kind of, you know, tolerated the hardware stuff to get through the degree. But that's kind of the cool thing about ECE is there's so much variety. You can kind of pick and choose what you want to do. Like, if I had my choice, I would not do that much hardware, so I chose not to. So I take a lot of the CPE software classes and the CS classes that are offered, and I think that's really the beauty of this major.
And that's the thing, there's so much variety in all of us with why we're in ECE, and it can either be the most planned thing that you do, or it could be the most spontaneous thing you do. For me, it was definitely spontaneous. I also had the same thing as Max. I was thinking about mechanical, I was thinking about chemical. I went through all 14 majors at one point, and I settled on electrical engineering second semester. It's funny, my older sister did electrical engineering here, and she's the reason I didn't want to do it, because I saw how hard it was and the pain, and it seemed like impossible. But I talked to more people in the ECE department as a general engineering freshman. I learned more about the classes, and I realized, like, even though it was really hard, she loved it. And I talked to more people in the ECE department. I met people like Max, Kristen, David, and like, it's worth the pain and tears, because the teachers here are amazing. The program here is awesome, and you do learn a lot. It's really about having a passion for it, and you're not going to figure it out straight away when you're a freshman. Trust me, I didn't. I'm sure a lot of us didn't. But it's all about just talking to people. So, and that's, I guess, leads me to another question that we can ask our panelists is like, if you could give your freshman or your high school senior self, like, any piece of advice, and, you know, take a second to think about it, like, what would you tell yourself? Like, because I'm sure that's like a lot of our attendees, that's what they're going through. So, anyone can hop in on that.
I guess I would say, like, do whatever you're passionate about. Like, don't be afraid about, like, what people think about you. I remember I was really interested in the robotics club in high school, but I never wanted to do it because there was, like, a huge stigma around it, so I didn't do it. And then I came into college, and all these people have done all these cool projects in their robotics clubs, and I was like, wow, I really missed out. Like, so I would just say, like, fight for whatever, like, you want to do, and it'll kind of lead your passions. Like, you kind of figure out what you want to do by just like being like, oh yeah, that seems interesting, let me try it out. So yeah, definitely just don't worry too much about a major or like what specifically you need to do. Just kind of like do whatever you're interested in, and everything else will fall into place.
Yeah, mine's gonna be kind of lame and cliche, but I would say yes more often. You know, this is like, I would say less so even ECE. Just in college in general, you're gonna have a lot of fun opportunities. Say yes to stuff. Like, my favorite memory in school is spontaneously going to a tech football game at UNC. I know that's kind of like off topic for this, but just in general, I would say yes to everything, all kinds of opportunities. You know, there's going to be all types of different stuff, whether it be the ECE ambassadors or just doing something fun with your friends. Say yes to stuff within reason, of course.
My advice would be make a plan. Like, don't be completely like unawares of what's going on, but, you know, make a plan with the best information you have, act on it, and readjust. Don't worry about trying to control like is this major going to get me the exact job I want 10 years from now? You know, like, I have no idea as a senior year in high school that I would be like as part of ECE ambassadors giving a talk like this right now. I had no idea. So, you know, you make a plan, you act on it, and then you readjust. So don't let the number of possibilities hold you to inaction, would be my suggestion.
Well said. And I echo everything that my fellow panelists have said. If I could just add one thing, actually, I think David already said, yeah, just say yes to everything. Because Virginia Tech is amazing. The one thing I will add is like, as a senior, your time here is actually so short. Like, I cannot believe in 2 months I'm about to graduate. And so, just wherever you end up, whether it's Virginia Tech or any other school, just soak it in. Soak it in as much as you can, and like think about how like, oh, 4 years from now I'm graduating, because I cannot believe freshman year was so what 4 years ago. I just cannot believe it. But we do have another question in the chat from Ranjiv, and he asks, do extracurricular activities and work experience play a big role in the admissions decision process? I personally don't know the answer to that question. Do my fellow panelists know? Go ahead and hop in, anyone.
Yeah. So when I was a freshman, I was on the general engineering ambassadors team, and so I know like a decent bit about the admissions process. So your specific question was, what was it? Hang on, sorry, I lost it. Do extracurriculars
into the application?
Yeah, definitely. Tech does the holistic application where they take into account like everything from obviously your grades being the most important to stuff like sports, robotics club, whatever, work experience. It's kind of like a resume. Like if you were looking at someone's resume, the GPA is important, obviously, but a lot of the other stuff is very important too.
Awesome. I got another question in the chat. What's been the most interesting project any of y'all have worked on? And I guess it can be whether it was in your work, internships, school. Go ahead.
I can start. If I had to pick, because there's lots of fun things I've had an opportunity to work on as part of tech, but I'd have to pick what I'm doing right now. So I work in the Trek lab, which is in Goodwin. If you ever have a chance to visit, you walk up the main steps, take a right, and there's this glass wall with all this really cool robotic stuff. And I saw that, and that's what made me basically come to tech. But, and now I work in there now, and so we do humanoid robotics for emergency response. We're actually working on an entirely 3D printed robot that's going to be able to walk, possibly like manipulate a fire hose, something like that. So I work on the motors for the robot, that making sure that they'll move exactly to the right position that we tell them to, and like controlling like the leg as it balances and things like that. So making robots that walk that can save people's lives someday is like I just really enjoy that.
All right, I don't think I can top Max's. That's pretty cool. I'll say my favorite school project and a work one too. School was, we made a Pac-Man AI for one of our classes. I don't know if anyone else has taken this class, but I think it's ECE 4824. It's called Artificial Intelligence. And so using a bunch of algorithms, you make this Pac-Man AI that eventually defeats the game. So like all the projects kind of culminate to where you get one that works well enough to defeat the game. That's a really cool class. It's like the same curriculums used as UC Berkeley, so they have the same class. You can Google it, I think, if you just look up like Berkeley AI class. And so that was my favorite one in school. I would say work. Over the summer, I worked on this payment processing system. I worked at JP Morgan last summer, and it was cool because of the volume that they did. It was like investment banking transactions, and it was $4 to $6 trillion a day. So just to see that like amount of money move, it was pretty crazy. And then just knowing that the backbone of that is essentially like a Java program, and that's how half the world is depending on the their money to be moved, was kind of scary, but also really cool at the same time.
Yeah, so I'll follow the same format as David and give a work in a school one. But in terms of a school project, I'm on HEVT, which is a hybrid electric vehicle design team here at Virginia Tech. And so I'm working on the CAV sub-team. So it's working on making a Chevy Blazer fully autonomous, or at least like semi-autonomous, in terms of both like the features and then also making it so that it's completely eco-friendly. So it's a hybrid vehicle. And so that's super cool, being able to like work directly with sensors and seeing how like and actually like working on the technology in order to make the computer make different decisions in terms of like adaptive cruise control and stuff like that, like being able to sense different objects in front of you and kind of tracking those different objects and determining like vehicle speed and stuff based on that. So that's been super fun. And then in terms of a work experience, I worked at Honda last summer. And so as part of that, I was directly testing and building a program based on that tested the current vehicles. So I was able to actually like drive and completely like interact with new vehicles that haven't even come out, like 2023 Honda and Acura vehicles, which was super fun, being able to like, I don't know, like see and touch things that people have no idea exist yet. So yeah, that was super fun.
And I'll make mine quick because I know we're running out of time. We only have about like 5 minutes. And I guess this also answers a question in the chat about co-ops or internships. So this past summer I was at Boeing, and a really cool project I was working on, and also I'm the only electrical engineer here, so it's going to sound a little different from what my fellow panelists have been doing, but I actually worked in this place called the Lightning Lab. And so at Boeing, as you guys know, they make airplanes. And when they're in the sky, there's a chance of them being hit by lightning. So I was a part of the team that helped develop hardware to like be tested against like simulated lightning strikes, and that was really awesome. Really cool experience. And before we go around the room with everyone else's cool co-ops and internships, Max or Kristen, would you guys mind answering like how large typical engineering classes are at Tech? I know the curriculum's kind of changed since David and I have been in like general engineering classes, so go ahead and answer that question for us.
I would say so. The class size depends on like if it's within the ECE curriculum or not. So like your general classes like chemistry and physics and stuff like that will generally have larger class size. I would say usually around like 70 to 80 students in a large lecture hall. But then your ECE curriculum is when things get smaller. So some of the intro classes are usually a little bigger, maybe like I think the intro to ECE course, which is ECE 1004, I think that was probably around like 40, 45 people or something like that. But then as you go on throughout the curriculum, the class sizes get smaller and smaller. So I would say maybe like 30 people is normal in a class size. But obviously, like as you get into like more of the junior and the senior year courses where not everybody takes those classes, they kind of shrink in size. So yeah, it ultimately depends.
Thanks, Kristen. And we have one last question about co-ops or internships. So if everyone can just describe one cool internship or co-op they've had, just to meet the time restraint, you can just go around the room.
I can start off. My first internship last summer, I worked on the M5 RIPSA autonomous tank with Textron Systems in Maryland. So I was doing kind of safety testing, make sure the like electricity was routing the correct direction, making sure the current wasn't too high, that sort of thing. Also testing new components to add to the design.
So after my freshman year, I went to Boise, Idaho to work at Micron Technologies. So they create the memory for like products such as like your Apple iPhone. They use Micron memory. And so I was working in the DRAM group. So I was working on creating a program that tests the different wafers, silicon wafers that are used to make the DRAM for the memory. And then after my sophomore year, so this past summer, I worked at Honda R&D in Raymond, Ohio. So that was when I was working on a test script, and I was working on a graphical user interface that tested the different error messages. So like when you're driving your car, if like the engine light comes on, I was working on the communication system, testing that system in the cars.
Yeah, so I already kind of gave a cool one at JP Morgan, but the summer before that, I actually did an electrical engineering internship at Northrop Grumman in Baltimore by the airport. And I worked on creating an automated like program management software, which was really cool. It was like this giant kind of Excel type sheet that would like plan whether or not you were on track and try and calculate like when a chip would be finished in the build out. So that was really fun. It was kind of more like the, software or the engineering management side, but I really enjoyed that.
Awesome. So that's all the time we have for you today, guys. Thank you so much for coming out. We really hope you think about Virginia Tech and ECE in your future. I will answer that last question. Do many engineering students double major in or minor in math? We actually do have a lot of people minoring in math, so definitely an option for those of you who are thinking about it. But yeah, that wraps everything up for now. If you have any questions, we ECE ambassadors have social media. We have a website, so you can definitely keep in touch with any other questions you have. Have a great day, everyone. Happy Saturday. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. We'll just do some introductions. So just to start off, I'm Kadisha Mercado. I'm a senior in electrical engineering, and I'm just here as an ambassador.
Everybody, I'm Nate Doggett. I'm a sophomore in electrical engineering, and I'm also an ambassador.
Hi, I'm Claire Weir, and I'm a third year at Tech, and I'm also an ambassador.
All right. Is how many co-ops are required or usually done during the entire program? But I guess, we can all talk about it. As a senior, I have done 2 internships, but I have personally no co-op experience.
Yeah, the ECE department, I think Virginia Tech as a whole doesn't actually require co-ops or internships. Obviously recommended, and it's more dependent on like a company basis. So I know some companies really try to get you to do co-op, so you're with them for 2 or 3 terms, whereas others are just typical internship opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've also only have done another internship. I haven't done a co-op, but I was in a running for a co-op, and I know how they work. So basically, when you have a co-op, you usually take a semester or 2 off. Some are you only work for 1 semester, or some they want to make you work for 52 weeks throughout your entire school year, or like your years at Tech. And so then you usually do like a semester of working, semester school, semester working, semester school, and then semester of working. So you do technically 3 semesters working, but they also count summers as semesters. So you would only really be probably 1 semester off. You probably wouldn't be able to graduate on time with co-ops, but the experience is really worth it.
And what minors are best along with electrical engineering majors? Anyone want to take this one?
Yep, this is really dependent on what you want to do. You know, if you want to design electrical circuits, you might do a minor that focuses on like power electronics or something, you know, versus if you want to do something engineering and design focused, you might pick some design. Or if you want to do a software you want to do hands-on work and kind of a software background, but you want a better understanding of electrical, so that's why you're doing electrical instead of computer, you might want to minor in CS, so you still get that programming. So there's definitely not one answer for that. And, you know, maybe you want to go study abroad and you want to minor in Spanish or something. It's just really what you want to do with your time. And there's opportunities to do all of them. So you're not limited at all.
Yeah, like Nate said, you're not really limited. If you talk to your advisor, you can really minor in whatever you want to minor in. Obviously, there are, more popular ones, kind of like Nate said, like CS and, things like that, where maybe the classes overlap easier with your major, but that, doesn't mean you have to do it. It's just up to you, really, when it comes down to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really easy to get a math minor because we need to take like 2 other classes to get a math minor. So if you wanted one of those, and I know like people that are also majoring in computer engineering, and they're like minoring in film. So like it's definitely possible. And there's like another person minoring in theater. Like you can minor in other stuff too.
Great, thank you. And the next question we'll go to is there any specific topic in math that students should become skillful at with regarding to electrical engineering? Skillful, a lot of it is just knowing your algebra, making sure you can do that algebra. You'll take your calculus and you'll take all the way up to Calc 3. And you really like Claire was saying, you take so many math classes in both electrical and computer that, it really just comes secondhand. And it's just, when you're in those classes, don't just think of it as like a math class, because a lot of those things will come back and, be used in your other classes. Is there a limit to the amount of students who can major in electrical engineering? simple answer is no. They don't cap it as at a certain value. You come in as a general engineer here at Virginia Tech, and then from there, your sophomore year or going into your sophomore year, you'll apply for your major, and if you apply for electrical engineering and they accept you, It's no limit to it.
Yeah, and you just have to get if you get a 3.0 or higher, you're like automatically accepted into the college. But if you don't have a 3.0 or higher, they usually have to look through whatever your application was, and then they'll accept you based off that.
Yeah. So it's just really important. First year classes do well and to get a 3.0 so you have your choice.
Yeah, it's the easy way to get in. Next question is there a program to get your master's in 5 years?
Yep, there is. Probably the best thing to do with that is if you're interested in it, just talk to your advisor freshman year. Because the key to something like that is just getting started on it early. You can fit it all in, you can get on that track, but if you try to do it your junior year, you just won't have time to fit everything in.
Yeah, you should think about doing the master's degree really early because you start taking your master's classes your junior year, like the beginning of your junior year. So you should definitely talk to your advisor way before your junior year to get started with that.
All right. And the next one is, does computer engineering incorporate all courses or all course material of both electrical and comp sci? So no, I would say it would be the short answer. So the thing with computer science is that it's not in our department. That's a whole different other major. I will say computer and electrical, you guys both, your sophomore year are taking the same courses. So you'll take the same like elementary kind of courses. And that's where a computer engineer would get their kind of electrical background and vice versa. But if you want to do that, there are ways to double major in some things. And again, that's a whole thing of talking with your advisor or doing like a computer science minor.
Yeah, there's similar like course materials, but we don't incorporate all the course materials. Like we definitely learn like computer science stuff, like of coding and different languages. We learn different languages than the computer science classes though. And then for electrical engineering, we do learn hardware and like the basic math, circuits, things like that when we share the same classes. But then when we branch off, we don't learn as much unless you're in like a specific topic, like a specific, focus.
Yeah. So. Yep. Another question here is, did any of us participate in living learning and what did we think of it? I know I did. I did the engineering living learning. So that for women, that's Hypatia. For men, it's Galileo. But they're all in the same dorm and, most of their things are more or less kind of done together. I initially honestly wasn't going to, and then I decided to, and I wouldn't have traded that experience. I really enjoyed being able to go across the hall and, ask questions about the physics class we're in, because like I said, you're general engineering freshman year, so you're all taking the same courses, all those intro courses. And it's, like I said, it's really nice to just be able to go anywhere in the dorm and just ask for help, ask if someone's doing a homework for this professor and if they've got number 3, So I enjoyed it for that sense. And yeah, that's just me. I don't know if any of you two did.
Yeah, I did the Hypatia Living Learning Community too. And it was a really good experience because you also had a mentor and your mentor helped you a lot through like doing classes, like helping with advice, with professionalism, things like that. And you also have to take a class on the side that's like an hour, like 1 credit, but you learn about professionalism, academics, you have to go to social things as well. And so you just get really involved in the school and it was a really good experience. Oh, and you get like your resume looked at, and that's a really big one too.
Yeah.
Yep, and I was also in Galileo, which is the guys program, and just same thing they said. And there's a maker space, so you have access to some tools and stuff in the building, which is nice, just for projects.
Yeah. So, aside from those, we obviously have like many more. We have honors and we have a lot more living learning communities. But yeah, the engineering one, the one that we talked about. All right. So, next question is, what kind of research opportunities are available, and how can a student get involved? don't know if anyone wants to take it.
Yeah, I can talk. The easiest thing is just go ask professors. I've talked to 4 different professors, and I just walked up to them. 2 were during class, and 2 were during like COVID, so I wasn't in class. So I just emailed them. But they're all really receptive. And I just walked up and said, "Hey, I'm curious about like what you're researching to see if I'd be interested in it." And 2, I was interested in, so I kind of pursued those. Both were willing to, like take me on to help them do research. And then just because of other commitments and stuff, I'm only doing 1. But it's just that simple. You just talk to your professors. You also occasionally get emails throughout the year of when a professor is looking for, help from undergraduate students. They send it out to the class listserv. And those are coming out pretty frequently, because everybody needs electrical and computer engineers on their teams. So
yeah. And ECE has like a lot of faculty, like just in general. And when I was looking for research, they have like a whole undergrad research page too that shows any of the like projects that are working on right now. Or you can just go to the faculty list, look up, and then they show like little projects they're working on and their emails there, and you can just email them and be like, "Hey, I'm really interested in what you're doing. Like, can I like be a part of it or shadow or something like that too?"
I'd also add, hopefully next year everything will be in person. And back when things were in person, you also occasionally had, a professor come in at the beginning of class and show their research, which means, they really want you guys because they're showing it to your class. So that's also like another way, if they just come in, just, let them know you're interested, see if you get their email down and, send them an email like Nate and Claire were saying. All right, next question is, did you know you wanted to go straight into electrical, or did you figure that out later? For me, I knew I wanted to go straight into electrical coming into college, but I had engineering courses in high school. And that's honestly what really helped me, because we had one, kind of more geared to electrical and learning how to do some simple things, like some simple breadboarding and learning how to, make up some simple circuits. And I absolutely love that. And that's how I knew I wanted to do electrical. But I, have friends that didn't know. The president of our ECE ambassador team, she's also electrical, and she didn't know until I think after her second semester freshman year. And, and she was easily able to catch up because it's only one course that you'd really have to catch up on. And she was able to do that really easily and just jump straight in with us sophomore year. All right. Next question is, did you know which area you wanted to pursue when you arrived as a freshman, or decide after first year? So I guess that's kind of the same question, but we can talk about focuses if you guys want to talk about your focus.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can go ahead.
Okay. So I'm focusing in, you have a first like primary focus, and then you have a secondary. So you get to choose 2 out of the list. And so I chose software systems, and my secondary is machine learning. And I honestly didn't know that I wanted to focus in those and until like my sophomore year. But I knew I wanted to do something in computer engineering first. So that's why I took the intro classes, so I wasn't behind. And then I took one of our first like embedded systems. That's when we get to like code like a game on like a little controller, and it was really fun. And so I decided to go into software systems for that because I really liked coding. And then machine learning I thought just sounded really cool because it's with like AI, and what we're doing right now is we're learning about all the different agents that are a part of it, and all these little things that are part of different robots too, and how they think. Well, not think, but how they're programmed. So yeah, that's why I did that. Oh, and you don't start them until your junior year, so you have a lot of time to think about it. And you do usually get your first choice because you just go into try to get into whatever classes you need to get into.
The next one is, how hard is it for an international student to attend electrical engineering at VT as undergrad? I can't say I know how difficult it is. I don't know if one of you 2 know.
I don't know specifics for electrical engineering, but I will say for Virginia Tech, everybody comes in as general engineering. So, if you want to do, I think ECE is pretty popular. or like computer science, it's the same as if you want to do like ocean engineering or some of the other ones, or mechanical, which is larger. So it's just about getting in as general engineering. But other than that, I also don't have hard numbers for you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right. Which degree would you recommend for primarily hardware focus? I would say electrical. We're very hardware focused. I don't like coding. We don't code much. We do a little bit, but yeah, it's not much. But yeah. All right, next one. Are there any robotics programs, clubs, or groups at VT? So actually in the ECE department, both electrical and computer side, there's a robotics autonomy, controls robotics and autonomy focus. So that's a really cool thing that we have, you know, if it's more than just like a hobby or something that you really want to pursue career-wise, you know, it's something that you can do here at Virginia Tech. For clubs and programs, I'm sure we do. I don't know if you guys know of any of them for sure. You guys want to take that?
So I don't know any specifically off the top of my head. I know, so we have some design teams, and depending on your definition of robotics, but for instance, we have a sailbot team, which they build a sailboat, and then once it's functional, so they can control in the water, then they try to make it autonomous. So that has the components of robotics. You know, you're controlling the propeller, you know, the sail going up and down. So you're doing all that with like step motion stuff. And most design teams will have some element of robotics incorporated into them. We have a mining design team that does like a mining robot. I don't know much about it, but there are definitely opportunities here at Virginia Tech. And I'll kind of tie this into Barb's question for why VT over other engineering schools. Virginia Tech is really nice because not only are we, you know, highly ranked and kind of across the boards and a lot of stuff. Not only is the atmosphere really good, but if you want a specific engineering school question answer, it's because we have a lot of opportunities. We're really large. We have great faculty, and we have those research opportunities. We have those design team opportunities. We have, you know, over 800 different clubs that you can join. So not only do you have the opportunities for the engineering stuff, you also have a lot of other opportunities, and that's really what drew me in. Was because Virginia Tech is large and it's established. It has these resources, and it has some really nice labs and stuff that you can do really cool things in.
Yeah, and it has opportunities they give you the opportunities for after college too, with all the career fairs they hold every year, and then some are just specific towards engineering. Like we have Expo, and over like last time it was like over 300 companies attended, and you can go and talk to them, and they're wanting like Virginia Tech students. So you're not going to go up and be like, maybe they'll take somebody from Georgia Tech. No, it's because they want like Virginia Tech students, and they give us that opportunity for after college too.
Yeah, I mean, just reiterating what they both said, you know, there, like I said, a lot of opportunities here to do so many things, you know, in undergrad and grad school, and just getting hands-on experience as well as, you know, great in-classroom experience from your professors. And then, yeah, like Claire was saying, a lot of, you know, opportunities for what you're going to do next. I'll quickly take this, what laptops do you recommend? They, I think a lot of times send out a sheet for what laptops they think for engineering. You know, a lot of people, I mean, it's a lot of PCs, so I would definitely not think Mac in any way, shape, or form. I would not do that. You know, you can get Lenovo, you can get Microsoft. It's really just up to you kind of what you want and what price range you want that in.
Yeah, don't get Mac, because then you have to have like a dual desktop thing, and you have to go into like a virtual box to get to your it's a whole process. A lot of people just end up like ditching their Mac and then buying a new computer because they think that they can do their Mac like throughout sophomore year and everything, but no, it doesn't work.
I'll hop in. I do have a Mac. It's not that bad. You can dual boot, and it takes about 15 seconds to switch over to the Windows environment. And then when I do switch over, I realize I don't like the Windows environment, so I want to go back. But I've had 2 classes that needed it, and I found a workaround for one of them. So I've only had one class that actually needs it, and it was for like a lab. So I'd switch over for an hour every 2 weeks or something. But so it's like if you have a Mac, you don't have to go buy a new computer.
Okay, well, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, and I prefer Mac, but I'll probably get hated on, so just in
I
case.
also prefer something with a touch screen, and having, the pen also really helps.
Yeah, that is really nice.
Yeah, so I would say, again, if you're going from no computer, if you have a Mac, like Nate said, like, don't let us persuade you to spend more money on a different computer. You can make a Mac work. If you have another computer that, maybe we didn't talk about, like, again, you can make it work. This is just kind of, what we've seen through our years. Okay. What skills should someone interested in the field know prior to entering here at Virginia Tech?
I can talk on this. So kind of the whole point when you come in is to teach you. So it really is assume that you know nothing about ECE. You have to know basic algebra, and then you'll start taking your math classes. I think you can start all the way down. You can start at Calc 1 all the way up. So that's like built into your schedule. So that's what they assume you come in knowing, Algebra 2 trig or whatever. As far as ECE concepts, we have an intro to ECE that you probably take your freshman spring semester. But I didn't really know much about ECE. I kind of built stuff on the side. But I learned all of it just kind of coming in, and that's what the assumption is. If you know some stuff coming in, that'll just help you along the way. And, that first class might be a little boring. But that's a good thing, right? If you're cruising through it with an A.
Yeah, I will say you really don't have to know anything. You will see a lot of people. Some people will know some parts and some people will know other things depending on, what opportunities people had in their high schools. But you really just come in just knowing, your algebra, like Nate was saying, and then you'll learn everything else. Is it easy to change your focus if you change your mind on what engineering to do? If you're going between electrical and computer, I would say it's a lot easier because, like we said, sophomore year, you guys are taking a lot of the same courses, and it's not until junior year that you're really, splitting up and taking, mainly computer and mainly electrical courses. So that is really easy to split up or easy to switch in between. But other ones, some are easier to switch between than others. If you want to go from like computer science to civil, it might be a little bit more of a change. But if you want to go from like something to like mechanical, it might be an easier switch because mechanical is one of the more incorporating kind of majors. But yeah, between electrical and computer, it's pretty easy to switch in between.
Yeah, and just real quick, you do come in. Everybody comes in as GE, general engineering, so you have that whole year to decide.
Yeah. What was your favorite part about being electrical engineering at Tech? I loved, honestly, all the hands-on experience. I love labs. They're my favorite classes. They always are, always will be. Just because I like working on circuits. I like building circuits and making my circuits look pretty because my friends always give me, some nudges here and there and like, why is your wiring so pretty? Because I just like doing that. But I will say that, and I will say, the people I've really met in electrical engineering, it's really cool. You come in and you're like trying to think like, oh, I want all these friends everywhere. And then you just start seeing the same people every day and day and day. And you just start becoming really good friends with them. And I really have enjoyed doing that. So yeah, both classwork and, the people I've met. And that's all the time that we have for today. So thank you all for coming. Thank you all for all your questions. And if you have any more questions, if you go to ECE Advise, there should be an email there that you can, ask your questions to. We also have info sessions held by our ambassadors. If you sign up for those, you'll be able to get a new perspective, maybe from other ambassadors, or maybe it'll be us, and we'll be able to answer more questions from you. But thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys.